look who's back. I know I've been gone for about 2 months from being able to put out a new episode, but it's because we had a lot of different family issues arise in the last couple months, and I had to make a decision whether or not to just carry on as if everything was normal or take a break to be able to focus on what really matters, those close to us. So I took the break, and I knew that you guys would understand, and many of you were praying for us during the different things that arose, and I want to just say thank y'all so much for your thoughts, your prayers, and for being patient for our continuation of our different podcasts. But let's get right into it and see if we can get this back in the groove. Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between being heard and feeling understood in a relationship. And as we understand that this is a subtle but powerful thought, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever poured your heart out to your spouse and they nodded, listened, maybe even said, okay, I hear you, but then you walked away still feeling like they didn't really get it, like there maybe wasn't really closure, or maybe you felt or maybe you've been on the other side and you're trying to listen, be present, but your partner still says, you're not hearing me, and you're actively trying to hear and understand. That's because being heard is not about sound, of course, but feeling understood, that's about connection, and the two are not the same. So today we're really going to dig into the difference and why it matters, and how you can grow into understanding each other in a way that makes you both of you feel seen, safe, and emotionally connected. Now, as just like a little funny story before we get started, when I was in ministry school, I remember there was one time where one of my roommates decided, and kind of like near the end of the school year, they wanted to open up to me, and we're kind of like laying in bed. It was late, and we're just, I was on the top bunk and he was on the lower bunk, and he was just like started kind of sharing his story, pouring his heart out. I wasn't necessarily anticipating it, but no lie, I accidentally fell asleep while he was talking. I was trying to pay attention, but all of a sudden I woke, my eyes opened to him looking at me very upset. And I was like, no, I was just thinking about what you had said. And he said, no, forget it, dude. And laid back down. He was legitimately mad at me. And I guess I can't blame him. I fell asleep while he was pouring his heart out. But I feel like for me, there's been times where I've had that same kind of situation because, not because I'm not interested, but because for me, sometimes high emotions, being a wave processor, overwhelm me, and sometimes I'll even literally get sleepy as we're talking, not because I don't care, but because my emotions are literally can't handle it. So something to just kind of consider, that maybe either that or I have narcolepsy, who knows. But I want us to think about, I think about how most of us would say that we want to be heard in our marriage, and we want our words to matter. But what many of us are really craving isn't just to be heard, but we want to be understood. And I think if we're honest, the hearing part is easy. We know what they're saying, but we're almost just waiting for us to get them. Like, yeah, I hear what you said, but for me, it was like this. And when you did this, and we're just almost more prepared to share our side and to explain to them how what they said doesn't matter because look at what I had. And it's this problem where we're both looking at our words of distractions of what we're trying to say instead of this bridge of us being able to share, understand what the other is trying to say too. And rather than just hearing words, being distracted while planning your response, instead of mentally checking out, let's just take a moment to remember that our goal in what they are sharing is to understand. That requires you to slow down. It requires you to lean in. It requires you to have some empathy. There's literal times where if I notice in myself that I'm not really actively trying to understand my wife and what she's sharing, there's times where I'll literally lean forward into like a thinker pose, not because I'm pretending to think, but because it helps me to actually be like more engaged. Like I'm concentrated and focused on what you're saying. And because feeling understood isn't about whether your words landed in someone's ears. It's about whether your emotions landed in their hearts. And again, it takes empathy. And I think that we could all look at different like examples in our day. Like, say someone comes home after a rough day and they tell their spouse, "Oh man, you today was just felt like a complete failure. I don't even know if I'm doing anything right anymore." And they just really allow themselves to have this vulnerable moment. And the spouse says, "Oh, I hear you. That sucks." Technically they heard you, but they're probably still going to feel a little bit like alone in that moment, like, oh, okay, so what do you want for dinner? Instead, if they paused, looked in the eye, and said something more like, that must have been really hard, like what made you feel that way? How have you always been feeling like this? Like, kind of like asking more questions, following up. I'm so sorry that I felt like that for you today. Do you want to talk more about it? Do you want to do anything to feel better? Like, imagine there's this follow through to where there's actually this connection at what was voiced. And that moment tells me, that those kinds of moments tells them what's underneath their words. It's this idea of being able to see, oh, what they're really saying is that they feel insecure or they feel disappointed. They have this weight that they're carrying. And you're able to kind of see what's beneath those words. And the difference is between hearing and understanding. Now, how to help your partner feel understood? I want us to move on from hearing to understanding in real everyday moments. And here's a couple things to try that might help. Listening with empathy, not solutions. I think that sometimes our partner just doesn't want advice, they want connection. Instead of trying to fix the problem, try reflecting back what you hear and what you hear them saying. And I think that this might sound biased, but often men are trying to fix the problem rather than connect with the person that's sharing. And so maybe the wife comes home saying like, I can't believe what Stacy did. She said this to the boss. I was so upset. And then their responses are like, oh my gosh, I bet that's so hard. You don't deserve that. Their response would most likely be like, have you filed a complaint against Stacy? And it's just like about like, let's fix this. Let's eliminate the problem. But she most likely wants to feel that sense of empathy, like that closure, that connection, rather than trying to fix this problem that might not even really have a solution. It's just that. So again, it's saying things rather like that. That sounds really frustrating. I can see why that made you feel hurt. Thanks for sharing that with me. You're trying to make this kind of like a beginning in these connection pieces to the words to bridge this clarity that what is being shared is being understood. Another thing is to pay attention to tone, to body language, to emotion. Often our partner says what our partner says isn't the full story. It's about how we say things. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Is their voice is their voice holding back a tear? Are they holding back a shudder? Are they shutting down after you asking more about it? Are they just giving you? Are they getting louder? Are they getting softer? Are they disassociating? And these different emotional layers are big parts in being able to understand them. Now, say your partner comes home and you're just on your phone and they start sharing and you're just like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And you don't put your phone down to stop scrolling to read what they're actually going through. You're not going to make any connection. You're not going to make them feel understood. And you could even say like, what? I heard you said this, and that. What do you mean? I'm listening. But you have to be willing to actively listen. Like we read so much from our body language. We read so much for how we're communicating beyond just words. And so if you want to actually understand and connect with this person, then you have to like stop what you're doing and fully engage. Even follow-up questions, instead of saying like, oh wow, that's crazy, oh yeah, I heard you, yeah, you said this, trying to even be like this emotional investigator. Like, how did that make you feel? Man, I can't is there more that happened? Was there something that led up to this? And even asking like, if maybe you feel lost, like, oh man, I don't know how to help with this sounds like a big deal. Maybe even asking like, what can I do to help you? What can I do to make you feel better? I want you to feel better about this. Do you just want comfort? You want to like just to sit and vent? Like trying to just, if you're clueless, just tell your partner like, I want to help, like help me, let's do something to make you feel better. If you want to talk more about it, something like that. And these kinds of directions and questions create this place of emotional safety because you're leading them into deeper trust. Now, let's talk about when you feel misunderstood. Taking a little moment to flip. What do you do when you're the one feeling misunderstood? Do you run out the door, run out the house, slam the door saying, you don't understand me? No. Here's what I've learned is that you have to speak up with niceness. Like you can say something politely, and you could say things like, hey, look, I appreciate that you're listening, but I feel like there's parts that you're disconnecting with. Like I want to really be able to share this with you right now. It's not just words. I really need you to understand how this made me feel. And really just even just communicating. Like I feel like you're not understanding where I'm coming from. And I know that you're trying to. I know that you're listening. But can you imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you just experienced this? And actually just voicing that can help make a moment is like, not another fight, but a moment is like, okay, well, I want to listen. I want to understand, and trying to just voice these different problems. You're not in an attacking way, but in this way that is inviting them deeper. And most of the time your spouse wants to understand. They might just need help getting there, or even knowing that they're not there yet. See, the benefits of being understood for both people is that we start to prioritize true understanding. And that shifts things because you end up not fighting as much because your understanding with each other grows trust. And arguments get shorter because you're not fighting to be heard, you're working to connect. Emotional safety grows because both of you are feeling like your heart matters. And it continues. The intimacy deepens because there's nothing more bonding than feeling fully seen and fully loved. It's like, even just think about when you were a teenager and your parents listened to you. Your parents did listen to you, but what did we say? You just don't understand me, because the problems as an adult are much bigger than the problems as a teenager. It's hard as an adult, as a reasonable adult, to look at your little boyfriend, girlfriend problems and think that it's the end of the world. It's just not. But at the end of the day, that's the worst thing that's happened to them at that period, right? And so it feels like the worst, but it's hard to understand from someone else that it's the worst. And at the end of the day, that bond that you yearn for with, like when you're a teenager with friends, and that they get me, they understand me. That's what we're talking about really when it comes to our marriage, is this point where we as partners understand each other and our intimacy is deepened because of it. There's nothing more binding than that. And it's that kind of marriage that we all want. It is built one moment of understanding at a time. So here's some takeaway. The big takeaway today is don't just aim to be heard, but learn to understand and be understood. Hearing is passive, but understanding is intentional. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. I'm trying to understand what it would be like if you said that to me. I'm trying to understand what it would be like if you did this and I said that. And when we prioritize this kind of understanding in our relationships, we will create a deeper sense of love, empathy, emotional connection, more than words alone could ever bring. So I hope that this is beneficial to you. I hope that this is making some connections. Next time your partner opens up, pause before you respond. Breathe. Don't rush to fix it. Don't brush it off. Instead, try to reflect their heart back to them. Put yourself in their shoes. Experience it in your mind to yourself. And if you're the one who feels misunderstood, be brave enough and loyal to your marriage enough to ask for what you need. Voice for your spouse. Be gracious enough to give your spouse this grace to learn more about you. And you can dive deeper into all of this in my book, Forever and Ever. If you haven't already read my book, or if you haven't got your own copy, you can order it on my website. You can order it on Amazon. But this is just one of the key parts that we talk about in my book, which is a very practical book on building this kind of partnership. You could, besides that, I hope that these podcasts are meaningful and helpful for you in your marriage. But until next time, have a great life.